What's up, guys? So I just finished eating food. It is a late start to the day. I think it's already 11:30. I just got sidetracked because I saw the door was open. I knew my cat was right there. Okay, we're gonna have to walk and talk. So, yep. This morning I had my girls, my son. Ooh. So I had my son to go to Dollar, what's it called? Dollar General or Dollar something, Family Dollar, and pick up all of their boxes. And he threw them over into the garden, and now he is weed eating. But I had my girls out here, told them as he cuts the beds really short to get cardboard boxes to completely cover the beds, because my hope is that as he cuts the beds really short, that placing the cardboards on top would stop the weeds from growing back. Or I told some of them to even pull the weeds, so some of the beds are just short with weeds and some they actually pulled and then covered it with cardboard, just because there's so many weeds out here in most of these beds, and I'm trying to get them under control so that I can replant. It is way too hot out here. So this whole in-ground bed right here, the basils are doing amazing. Like, we have a Thai basil here, like a holy basil. I don't know what kind of basil this is. We have the purple ruffle basil, a smaller basil here, the regular Genovese basil. Then we have this giant basil right here. There's some kind of squash coming in. I think it's from there. Then we have this purple top basil. More basil right there. Literally all of the basils are still kicking it and filled with bees. Actually, are those bees? Pollinators, definitely. I think, like, look how wild this is. So all of this right here going all that way and all that way is the same plant. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that this is the loofah. It's even coming up this trellis right here. But I don't see, in all of this green, I don't see any plants. Like, I do have some loofahs hanging right there, but yeah, it's even came across the fence right now and is taking over the fence where I have grapevine, but it's completely blending in with the grape and even blooming and taking over the grapevine. But I don't see many fruit down here. So like I was saying, I'm pretty sure that this is a loofah. But we have to start cleaning up the garden. I really wanted to replant some things, but all of these beds need to be reworked. They are a mess. And I see all of my pole beans have started to re-bloom, and now they're producing beans again. But I did want to plant a second wave of pole beans. I don't know what I should do about this. It looks good. It looks good, but it doesn't like it look. That looks good, but that's morning glory. Yes, now?
Like, don't wait till it's not breaking.
Okay. Let's get working. careful where you throw in that soil, because if you throw the soil on the black stuff, you're just gonna make weeds on the black tape. So apparently we still have these loober grasshoppers, but that already looks so much better. You can now actually see the basils and one tomato plant that, what tomato is this? Pole cherry. So there's a cherry tomato plant still doing well, but then you can see the actual basils. So hopefully the plan is to finish getting all of these weeds out, so this bed will be clear. And I just finished clearing this bed, and we're going to cover it with boxes, and Nehemiah is working on that bed right there. So the sun has come back out. It's super hot. You can see up close where the beans are. These are the beans that I planted at the beginning of the season, and you can see a lot of them died, but then we're starting to get new beans towards the bottoms and tops on plants that have been hanging in there throughout here. Not so much on this one, and that's just a big weed right here. I forgot what's this called, but it used to be super common. The berries are poisonous in my old garden. I'm gonna put this over here. But we did get quite a few garden beds done, and this in-ground looks much better. And now that I'm here, I can see that we actually have pepper plants. I thought all my pepper plants had died, and we have, I think I saw about 3. There's one here, there's one here. I pulled this one out by accident and then tried to replant it, so it might die, but that one's still in there. And I think I saw some other, yeah, there's one here that was covered. And so once I cut back this basil, it should continue growing. Our first frost isn't until November 2nd usually, either the 1st or 2nd week of November, so we still have lots of time for, you could just hear the bugs. So like I was saying, it's like the 2nd or 3rd week of November, and so we still have lots of time for those peppers to produce, because we're just in the end of August. my son goes back to school Thursday, and so I'm hoping I could use these last few days that I have him at home with me to get the garden back manageable. He did weed eat quite a lot for me the other day, probably like a week ago, but it has since started to grow back because we didn't cover it, but now it's not as bad as it was. So now I can come in and we just can pull the few weeds and cover it, and that's what we're doing. And then when I have time, probably later this week, I can come out and plant, because I do want to try and get a second wave of bush green beans going. I want to go ahead and show you the after, because I think I'm pretty much done for today. Let me turn you around as we're walking through so you can see we got those beds done. And I think the most dramatic thing is the morning glory is not on that trellis anymore, but we got a pathway. This bed is in-ground bed is mostly weeded with just the basils and the pepper plants that might not make it, but looking nice and tidy here. But I was working on this bed right here so you can still see the morning glory that we pulled down off of here, and I completely forgot I planted sweet potatoes in this bed. And so as I was pulling, lo and behold, sweet potatoes started to come up out of the ground. So I wanted to show you guys before I finish pulling that there's a bunch of ants. So sweet potatoes and ants here. I'm gonna have to find the fork. Oh, it's right there. The rake. No, it's not a rake, it's the fork. And use this. Woo. Use this to finish pulling up those sweet potatoes. Woo. Sweet potatoes. Last year I planted them in this bed and I let them grow all the way until the frost killed them, and then I dug them up. But since I already pulled this plant, I'm gonna finish digging it up and see what's underneath here. Ooh. They're definitely stuck underneath there. But it's nice to know that there are still things to harvest here. So I want to show you a good before and after. I think the thing I'm most proud about is this morning glory. Morning glory here in the south, specifically where I'm at, grows like a weed, so you don't need to plant it, but it's mostly just green foliage, and then you might see 1 or 2 flowers on it. Sweet potatoes, I'm gonna leave those. I'll come back and pick them up. I'm not gonna harvest that right now, but it's the loofah gourds that you can use the loofahs as sponges. But like I was saying, sweet potatoes, it takes 3 weeks in order for it to fully cure. I'm gonna call it a day because I have to get ready to go to Bible study. My son was weeding the front beds because I did plant ginger in this bed, and I'm gonna leave those until our first frost, and I'm gonna leave the rest of the sweet potatoes until our first frost. It's hot, guys. But I'm happy at the progress we made. It's about 2:30 now, so in 3 hours. And I'm gonna try and get out here earlier tomorrow where it's less hot. So I will have to see you guys tomorrow. Bye.